The roar of private jets filled the bright Los Angeles sky as Anthony Walker stepped out of his sleek black BMW. The valet's eyes widened briefly as they met Anthony's, a tall, broad-shouldered black man dressed in dark jeans, a tailored gray blazer, and pristine white sneakers. Anthony handed over the keys with a polite nod, his calm confidence exuding an air of quiet authority. The private terminal was a vision of luxury. Marble floors gleamed under ambient lighting. Wealthy passengers reclined in leather seats sipping champagne, and uniformed staff moved with precision. Anthony walked in with purpose, his carry-on slung over one shoulder. He glanced briefly at the gilded clock on the wall. He had precisely 1 hour before takeoff for a critical business meeting in New York. Approaching the reception desk, Anthony greeted the attendant with a warm yet professional smile. The young woman behind the desk, her blonde hair styled meticulously, barely looked up from her screen. Her eyes flicked to his attire and lingered a moment too long before she spoke. "Can I help you?" she asked, her tone neutral but edged with a subtle dismissiveness. "I'm here for the Ascend Aerojet," Anthony replied evenly. The attendant hesitated, typing something into her computer. She frowned slightly. "Name?" "Anthony Walker," he said. Her fingers paused over the keyboard, and for a split second, her expression faltered, but she quickly masked it with a practiced smile. "One moment, please." Anthony stepped aside, his sharp eyes scanning the terminal. He was no stranger to these moments, the split-second judgments people made when they saw him. Even after years of success, the weight of assumptions lingered in the air, subtle but undeniable. Across the room, Megan Harding emerged from a nearby lounge, clipboard in hand. Her tailored uniform and impeccably styled brunette hair exuded authority. She spotted Anthony and strode toward him, her heels clicking sharply against the marble floor. "Excuse me, sir," she began, her tone clipped and efficient. "Are you lost? This area is for private jet passengers only." Anthony turned to face her, his expression calm but firm. "I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be," he said. Megan's eyes narrowed slightly, sweeping over him. She gave a thin smile that didn't reach her eyes. "And you are?" "Anthony Walker," he said again, his voice steady. "I'm here to board my jet." Her brows lifted in what could only be described as disbelief. She glanced at the receptionist, who shrugged helplessly. Turning back to Anthony, Megan's smile tightened. "Let me check on that for you," she said, her tone dripping with condescension. "Please wait here." Anthony's face remained composed, though irritation simmered beneath the surface. He had long since mastered the art of maintaining his poise. Megan moved to a corner of the reception desk and whispered hurriedly to the attendant. Her voice wasn't low enough to mask her words entirely. "Are you sure he's not mistaken? This happens all the time." The attendant murmured something in response, but Megan shook her head, her lips pressing into a thin line. She turned back to Anthony, her expression carefully neutral. "I'm sorry, Mr. Walker," she said, "but I can't allow you to board without proper verification. Security measures. You understand." Anthony met her gaze, his dark eyes steady. "My name is on the flight manifest," he said. "Perhaps you should check it again." "Of course," Megan said briskly. "But in the meantime, I must ask you to step aside so we can process our other passengers." As if on cue, a group of well-dressed individuals entered the terminal. Megan's demeanor shifted instantly. Her smile became warm and welcoming, her voice lilting with practiced charm. "Mr. Edwards, welcome back. Let me escort you to the lounge," she said, completely ignoring Anthony. Anthony watched as she ushered the group past him, his jaw tightening. Glancing at his watch, he saw he had 45 minutes until takeoff. The time for patience was running out. Pulling out his phone, Anthony dialed his assistant, Sophia. Her voice came through immediately, calm and efficient as always. "What's wrong?" she asked. "I'm being delayed," Anthony said. "Can you get the terminal manager on the line? I need this resolved." "Give me 2 minutes," Sophia replied, true to her word. The terminal manager, a middle-aged man with a harried expression, approached Anthony minutes later. Megan trailed behind him, her face a mask of professional indignation. "Mr. Walker," I'm so sorry for the confusion, the manager said, his tone full of deference. I assure you, we'll have you boarded right away. Megan's eyes darted between Anthony and the manager, realization dawning too late. He's the owner, she whispered harshly. The manager gave her a sharp look before turning back to Anthony. Please accept our apologies, he said. We'll handle everything from here. Anthony's voice was calm, but carried an undeniable weight. Not so fast. He stepped forward, his gaze fixed on Megan. The terminal fell silent as passengers and staff turned to watch the unfolding scene. You dismissed me without verifying who I was, Anthony said, his tone cutting through the tension. You assumed I didn't belong here and treated me with less respect than anyone else in this room. Why? Megan's face flushed. I was following protocol. Protocol? Anthony repeated, his voice edged with disbelief. Or prejudice? She opened her mouth to respond, but he raised a hand to stop her. I built this company so no one could make me feel small, he said, his voice steady, and I won't tolerate it from someone I'm paying. Turning to the terminal manager, he said, fire her and the rest of her crew immediately. As the jet soared above the clouds, Anthony sat back in his leather seat, the tension slowly ebbing away. He glanced at his phone, where dozens of messages from colleagues and friends awaited. One message from Sophia caught his attention. Do you want me to release a statement about what happened? She had written. Anthony thought for a moment before typing his reply. Yes, but let's focus on the bigger picture. He drafted the statement himself, describing the incident without naming names. Today's events are a reminder that appearances still dictate how people are treated, he wrote. It's time we challenge these biases in every industry. By the time Anthony landed in New York, his statement had gone viral. Social media lit up with debates about privilege and prejudice, with thousands sharing their own stories of discrimination. Major news outlets picked up the story, and the airline's CEO issued a formal apology. Megan and her crew's dismissal became a cautionary tale within the industry, sparking mandatory training sessions. Months later, Anthony stood in a packed conference hall delivering the keynote address for a global summit on diversity and leadership. His voice resonated through the room as he shared his vision for a more equitable future. It's not enough to succeed on our own, he said. We must create spaces where everyone is treated with dignity and respect, no matter who they are or where they come from. The audience rose to their feet in applause, inspired by his journey and determination. For Anthony, the incident at the terminal had become more than a moment of personal vindication. It was a catalyst for change. Subscribe to our channel for more soul-stirring stories.